Hello and welcome back for the MLB DFS Slate breakdown for June 13th. Yesterday was a fun slate, and we're back again today for today's Mondo 14 Gamer. As always, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to all our videos. It is a huge help in allowing us to keep giving this stuff out for free, these videos out for free, that is. And if you are not already, make sure to join us. Come join us at LineStar. Only $29.99 gets you access to all of our props, all of our DFS. Then you can walk through every slate just like I do. You guys, without further ado, let's jump in. We got ownership for the pitchers. As always, we're going to start out here. Our highest owned pitcher for today is Corbin Burns, almost 37%. There's a lot of different ways you can go on this slate. Corbin definitely looks good. This Twins lineup hasn't been great. However, I do think they're improving a little bit with, Royce Lewis in the lineup now, and then also Eduardo Julian. So I think those two aspects will help this team a little bit, but overall, the team hasn't been great. They've been striking out almost 26% versus righties, and Corbin Burns is starting to kind of pick it up a little bit. His FIP over the last five is a little bit high at 4.3, but it comes with almost 28% K rate. So he's kind of seems to be rounding back into the pitcher we know he is, has some real high upside, pretty solid floor. I don't mind going to Burns. The one thing you do have to know here is the weather is nice. It is warm, so it will make that ball fly a little bit easier. But he's really not letting much hard contact, only 19%. It is 51% fly balls, but nobody's really hitting them hard. So that is one thing to take into consideration. Another very small sample size on the BVP data, but 22 plate attempts, almost a 41% K rate. So you got to like that. The combined K rate on him, we have at 28%. So I think there's a lot to like about Burns. Our projection sure does like him as well. Next, we got Max Scherzer, right around the same salary, but 6% less owned at 32%. And Scherzer looks good. And I know he's been a little inconsistent to start the year, but the numbers are telling me that he's the same guy that he's been, and I have no issue going to him against this Yankee team. However, once again, another spot where the weather is a little warmer, the winds are blowing out, and Scherzer will give up a home run or two. But with that, he's going to strike out some guys. Yankees striking out 23% versus righties. They really haven't been that great versus righties, especially without Judge in the lineup. So I think you should, Scherzer looks fine. He's also averaging 30% more fantasy points while home, 3.11 FIP over the last five with almost 30% K rate. The combined K rate is 26.6. I think there's a lot to like about Scherzer today. Next, we got Hunter Brown. So Hunter Brown is a rookie. He's been extremely good. Low threes FIP over this season, and then 3.39 over the last five. I think he looks really good. That K rate keeps kind of inching up. 33.6% over the last five starts. It's 27% over the last 20. He's in a really good spot here. Combined K rate is 25.7. That's just because Washington only strikes out at 18%, but they're really not that good of an offense. And Brown is really taking advantage of teams when they aren't that good of an offense. So I do like Brown, especially with him going a little bit lower owned. Pablo Lopez is next, coming in at 26%. Now, Lopez was unbelievable to start the year. He has fallen off a little bit lately, 4.63 FIP over the last five. However, that does come against the Dodgers, the Angels, the Blue Jays, the Guardians, the Rays. If there's five offenses I don't want to pitch to in a row, it's probably those if you just threw in maybe Baltimore over Cleveland. Now, facing Milwaukee, it's a different thing. Milwaukee's offense isn't that great. They strike out at almost 23%. Combined K rate's 25%. I think you can go here, and I don't think he's been pitching as bad as some of the numbers show. I just think that he's faced some pretty good offenses. So I don't mind going to Lopez there. Uh, we got Joe Musgrove next. It's against Cleveland. Cleveland's kind of a pesky offense, but they're low ISO, a lower WOBA versus righties. They just don't strike out that much, or else I would be absolutely loving Musgrove at these prices. Another thing with Musgrove is he was kind of shaky to start the year. He didn't really have a spring training, and it seems like he is starting to get into form with his last 3 games, 25 points, 20 points, 22 points. At his salary, if he's having mid-20s, it's going to be a good situation there. So I think you can go Musgrove. I don't love it. I do love the ownership is a little lower, though. Severino, I have a hard time going here. He hasn't been great lately, and he hasn't just been pitching deep into games. The weather's nice in New York, like I said. As far as further down on the list, a couple guys that I do like. One, George Kirby. It's against the Marlins. They don't strike out a ton. Kirby's strikeout rate isn't super high, but he is better at home. He strikes out more guys at home. His splits show that. And he's just a solid pitcher. He did have a bad outing last time, but pretty much every time we've seen that he has a bad outing, he does rebound and have a good outing the next night, and he's averaging 22 fantasy more or percent more fantasy points at home. So I like Kirby today against that Marlins team. Vegas agrees with the Marlins run total only at 3.4. Next, I think you got to bring up Zach Wheeler here. Wheeler's just been really good lately. 2.93 FIP over the last 5, 2.68 over the last 20. Comes with a 26% K rate. The combined K rate's 22%. He is against this Diamondbacks offense that just seems to score runs every single night. That's very much led by Corbin Carroll with a league-leading OPS plus. I think you can go Wheeler. He's going relatively unowned, and we know he has real high ceiling if he's on his stuff. And if he's on, he can shut down any offense. So at that ownership, it is interesting to me. Chris Bassitt's another one. He's been pitching unbelievable. It's a real tough matchup for him, though. So I'm probably only playing him in, big GPPs, but he's definitely a little interesting, but very risky. We have seen him put up some big games against some good teams. Atlanta put up 42 points, Yankees 27, the Mets 35, Astros 26. So he's been very good this season. I think he may be getting a little lucky because his FIP is way higher than his ERA, but that's kind of how it's been for his career. Somehow it just works for him. There are a few pitchers in the league that just continue to do this, where their FIP is way higher than what their ERA is. And he's one of them that somehow makes that work. All right, now let's get into the FanDuel ownership here. And main slate. All right. Corbin Burns coming in highest, 19%. Max Scherzer, 19%, but a solid discount from Max to Corbin there. And Hunter Brown coming at 16% with Pablo Lopez next. Now, personally, I'm probably sticking to one of these, top 5 guys. I could see you go to Musgrove or Kirby if you want to get a little more different. I'm probably not going real down the list here. You could throw in Wheeler if you're in one of those giant FanDuel GPPs too. So let's get to the stacks. Another thing to note about this slate is this Cubs game probably gets postponed if something changes with the weather. and they do play, then it becomes pretty interesting. Wrigley is very much benefited, or hitters are very much benefited from wind. The wind is 15 mile an hour plus going out at Wrigley today. So with that being said, I do think the Cubs are fairly interesting. Or the Pirates, depending on if that game plays. Again, I don't know if it does. All right, now the highest owned guys for today is the Houston Astros versus our favorite punching bag and Patrick Corbin. Corbin is just every DFS's player's favorite pitcher to go against. He gets blown up sometimes, and when he gets blown up, it gets real bad. 4.6 FIP over the last 20, up to 5 over the last 5. You know this Astros team can get to him. The one thing is they are lacking Yordan Alvarez right now with him being on the IL. So this team as a whole just isn't as dangerous with him. So if you don't want to follow the crowd, I absolutely understand it with not having Yordan in that. So another higher owned one is KC. I think KC is in a really good spot. I don't like Brandon Williams today. 6.17 FIP. He hasn't been great. Weather's really nice in KC. Red Sox are popping with Chase Anderson on the bump. Now, this happens over and over and over again, and I have no real data behind it, but it seems like the day after everybody is on somebody, a team somehow comes through. And this happens with my home run calls a lot, whereas the following day, they have a real good day. Yesterday, I picked Devers. I wouldn't be surprised if Red Sox had a game. Chase Anderson, his numbers, his ERA looks okay since he's been up, but his FIP is in the 5. So I don't love Chase Anderson, and you can absolutely stack with the Red Sox. So now let's look at the highest projected for today. And my computer seems to be a little slow today. All right, we got the Reds coming in as one of the highest projected offenses or stacks today. It's going against Jordan Lyles. Makes a lot of sense to go the Reds. Like I said, also really nice weather in Kansas City. The winds are blowing out. It's like 80 degrees. Good hitting weather. The splits are on the side of Cincy, and they got that young star in Eloy. Next, we got the Angels popping up. Not really sure who Texas is going to go with. So, we got to wait to really see here, but that bullpen isn't great. So I understand going to the Angels. Ohtani is hot. Trout is always good. Ward has been really good lately. I think the Angels make a lot of sense. Another one is Lance Lynn versus the Dodgers. Dodgers are in a real good spot here. The only issue here is that price of this stack is so expensive. $29.5K for Betts, Freeman, Smith, Muncy, Martinez. I just don't think you'll be able to fit that stack in with decent pitching. But Lance Lynn, as far as the overall Dodger stack here, Lance Lynn can get blown up. He can allow home runs, so I don't mind picking on him with this Dodger team. So next, let's go to some value here. Computer is going a little slow today. All right, value. The Royals, like I said, I really like that. You can get a little different with the Angels and go for some value. Rendon, Ward, Isis, all of them are hitting decently right now. So you can really get cheap with that Angel stack. Also, another one that's coming. This is a bit of a leverage stack because you're stacking versus Corbin Burns, but Minnesota. I don't love it, but Lewis and Castro are very interesting. The other pieces in Solano and Michael Taylor can be interesting as well. So I don't love it. I just don't think that full 5-man stack has the upside you need to really win a tournament here. Also popping up is the hottest team in baseball off 6 straight wins, the Oakland A's. They're an exciting kind of team. there's speed, there's power. They can score a lot of different ways. So I get it if you want to go there. Now let's get into the ceiling. And all right, Texas is coming in as a ceiling play. Makes a lot of sense. Berea's a decent pitcher, but hasn't really been that great. And he's probably not going to go that deep into the game. So then you get into that Angels bullpen, which can definitely get hit. Also very low owned, so that's interesting. Dodgers low owned as well. Gotta like that a little bit. And what else? All right, I'm glad we're bringing up Diamondbacks a little bit. More so glad to talk about this game, Arizona versus Philly. It is in Arizona, and there's a game total of 9, but this game really isn't popping up in any of our stuff as far as how we usually do these quick little rundowns. So I think this game is interesting. I don't love trying to pick on Wheeler, but I absolutely would pick on Arizona and go with Philadelphia stacks. I just don't respect that bullpen in Arizona at all. Tampa Bay Rays, I think you can always consider the Rays these days. They have so many different guys. They're able to either have power or speed that it really makes them interesting. And they're against Hogan Harris, who hasn't shown much in the MLB yet. So I think he's interesting. And we know that Oakland A's bullpen just isn't that great. Because it's such a big slate, let's look at the stacks tab here. So I have it based on implied runs right now. Texas and Boston come in at the highest implied totals. Kind of funny that they're not a little higher owned than they are, but I like it. Want to bring up Philadelphia versus Zach Davies. Davies almost a 5 FIP over his last 20. He's been good so far this year. 3.67 FIP over his last 5, but I just don't think he's that great of a pitcher. So I think you can definitely pick on Arizona a little bit. Baltimore, we talked about Chris Bassitt being good, maybe being a little lucky lately. The weather's warm. Baltimore is a good offense. I think you could pretty much always go them. Another one, the Cardinals. This offense is starting to hit. Cobb can be a little shaky sometimes and not pitch that deep into a game. If the Cardinals are able to get him out a little early, I think the Cardinals could definitely put up a big number. And you got to talk about Toronto. Dean Kremer is not that great of a pitcher. StatCast data, a lot of hard contact, high average exit velocity. So I think Toronto is a little bit interesting as well. And then the bad bullpens to pick on, you can go with Tampa Bay, the Dodgers, the Reds, even Boston here. So a lot of different ways to go on this slate. A lot of fun pitchers. I like this slate a lot. I appreciate you guys joining me for this, and we will